Hi everyone, this is Lori from My File Addiction. Today in this video, tip number 2, I'm going to show you how to get a stone count for design when you don't know how many stones it makes up the design. A lot of times if we purchase files or we purchase rhinestone fonts, we may not know how many circles are make up the design because it has not been made in this program. Or if you look at a tip number 1 video that I showed you that this particular design was made, I showed you how to make it. For some of it I used the rhinestone function, and some of it I showed you how to make it from scratch. So the parts that were made from scratch don't necessarily have the rhinestones applied to it, and so therefore the stone count was not there when we made the design. So this particular video I'm going to show you how to do it. Now you need to follow the steps that I'm going to show you, because I'm going to show you exactly you can get some inaccurate results the first time, and so I'm going to show you how to do it so that your stone count is the most accurate. Okay, so the first thing we are going to do is I'm going to select this entire design. Okay, there's some funky stuff going on here and I'm not sure why it's doing it, but I want this design to be kind of cohesive and look all the same. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go select Object up at the top left hand side, and I'm going to select Release Compound Path. You can also use the shortcut key Control-Shift-E. You want to do this, you want to bring your design into a separate design space. So when I created this design, I was actually in another tab. So I opened up another tab, a fresh brand new tab. I took my design from that space and I copied it. It didn't cut, but I copied it and I pasted it inside the new design space. And the reason I did this was, for one thing, I wanted to preserve my original design. Okay, so just in case something goes wrong with this and we can't undo it, or I don't want to mess anything up, I want to be able to go back to my original design if I have to. Okay, so I'm a big fan of making copies of everything, and a lot of times when I design, I could have that same design open in 3 or 4 different tabs, because sometimes I want to refer back to a certain step that I was at, so I will save it that way and then I will move forward. Sometimes if you have too much going on in one design space tab, it slows down your program. So I'll open up another one, I'll save those other ones. You want to make sure you save your work. So save your work, open up a new tab. You can always go back to those other tabs and go back. It's like going back your steps. So don't be afraid to try new things, but try them in a different tab. That way you can always go back. Okay, so I opened up my new tab, I copied, pasted this design in here. Okay, so I went up to Object, I released Compound Path. Now the design looks all cohesive and the same. And okay, so my next step is I am going to open up my Select by Color panel here. Open that. That shows me, if I select the by fill option, that will show me all the colors that are in my design space. So right now I have this set up as a 2-color design. Excuse me. My next panel that I'm going to open up is my rhinestone panel. Okay, so these are the 2 panels I'm going to use for this step. When my rhinestone panel opens up, right now I see a stone count of 591. I'm not sure where that 591 comes from. Okay, If it's recognizing all of these stones as being 591, which I think it is, because if we go to select the purple, it tells me there's 119. If I select the red, excuse me, there are 472. So if you add those numbers together, you get about 591. I know, looking at this design, there's more than 591 circles in it. For one thing, I made this particular design already using my other program that I normally use, which is called SignLab 10. And if I look at that design on my website, because this is one that somebody has requested, and so I put it up on my website. I select the what's new and I go to pre-design layouts. This particular design has 991 stones in it, the one that I made. Now the one that I made in the silhouette program in my demonstration for my tip number 1 video, the stone count could be a little bit different because you know, sometimes you can't make the same design twice exactly the same, but it should be close to that. So this is telling me this is not an accurate number, okay? So what we need to do is we need to clear out that number and start all over. And like I said, I would suggest that you do that just to make sure. You might end up, you know, getting the same number twice, and that's fine, but at least you know that you have done the steps, and that number that you got even the second time is the accurate number. And you're going to see that mine is not. So what I'm going to do here is I am going to select the entire design here, and I'm going to select this first option, which is none. So that is going to clear out that number, okay? So now if I were to select my red circles, it's not going to give me a stone count anymore. Okay, I select my purple circles, it's not going to give me a stone count anymore. So now what I need to do is I need to apply the stones on top of my existing circles. So I'm basically replacing my circles with what Silhouette is considering a rhinestone in order to get a stone count. Okay? So what we're going to do is we are going to select our entire design here. And then now I'm going to go to I'm going to select my stone count. So when I designed this, I designed it in all SS10, so I'm going to make sure that's selected. We are not going to worry about the spacing, okay? This is the default spacing for Silhouette, 0.039, which I said when in my first video that if you watch that I think that spacing is too big. We are not starting with a solid vector object. We're not filling anything in. We're not applying stones to an outline of anything. We are essentially replacing the circles with a stone. So the program recognizes this as all individual objects, not one huge object. Okay, so it doesn't see that it needs to add spacing between anything because it's just replacing object for object. So the spacing should not matter in this instance. Same thing with the type of fill that you select, or outline or fill or whatever. You should be able to just select this first option. Okay, so if I select that one, kind of let it process, do its thing. So now you can see the stone count now goes up to 991. Okay. So before it was 591. So for some reason, 400 of those circles were not accounted for in that original stone count. And that's a huge difference when you're trying to figure out your cost for your supplies. You're basing it on 591, and you should be basing it off of 991. you could be shortchanging yourself and charging, less than you should because you don't think you're using as many stones. So if I take that number and I go back to my website, actually the stone count, excuse me, is exactly the same. So chances are, I didn't even think that it's possible to make a design in two different programs, and the stone count's usually off by, sometimes a couple of them or whatnot, but this happens to be exactly the same size, or same stone count. Now the sizing, my design that I made here was 9.41 by 9.4. And this particular design is 9.47 by 9.486. So a little bit different in sizing, but not by much. So that's probably why the stone count was pretty spot on for both. So if you wanted now individual stone counts for, like I said, for each color, all you would have to do is go back into your select by fill, and now you can get 119 for the purple stones, and the red stones are 872. Okay, so that at least you can know the stone count for each color or whatnot. But like I said, this step is also good for if you buy rhinestone fonts or rhinestone lettering that like I sell, that comes in an SVG file. And as long as you release those compound paths and you make those letters individual circles, you're going to do that after you put your wording together. Once you get the wording the way you want it to, do all that first, then copy paste, put it into a new design space, release your compound path, because now all your letters will be individual circles, and then you can do the same exact steps that I just did for this particular design, and you should be able to get your stone count for your lettering or your wording that you put together, and that will be very helpful for you also. So I hope that you like this video. If you do, please hit the like button, and if you subscribe to my channel, hit the little bell. This is subscribe, and I plan on making future videos with more tips and tricks to help you guys learn how to break designs down and create more cohesive, straight quality designs that are maybe a little bit more balanced out than you would get by just using the rhinestone function within the program. A lot of people do that. They don't like the results. They think they did something wrong, but a lot of times it's just the way the program works, based on what you're starting out with. So as you see, I took this particular design, and the way the Silhouette program, the results that the Silhouette program did when you applied the rhinestones was completely different than the way I broke it down and manually created some of these details, and you can see we got the results that we were looking for. So those are things that I'm going to show you along the way, and little things that, like I said, I do not design in this program. I do not create my designs in this program, but once you learn a rhinestone program, you can apply what you learn to other programs. It's just about learning the different steps and stuff like that. So I'm still learning too. So if anybody here that creates rhinestones designs in this program, and you may see steps a little differently than I do, that's okay. Sometimes there's more than one way to do it. So this is how I'm going to just show you how I go about creating my designs. So, like I said, I hope you like it. I hope you follow my channel, and we'll see you soon.